It has been just 24 days since the season ended, 52 days until the new one kicks off. We are less than 60 seconds away now from announcing the fixtures for the 2015-2016 campaign. On the way, we'll bring you all the reaction as we find out who your team will be playing, and we'll be live around the country to bring you all the reaction, including what fate awaits Premier League new boys. Bournemouth, we are live with captain Tommy Elphick.
This screen right here, the hub, the social media desk, it is going to be so busy today. We're going to bring you all the reaction from players, from fans, from the clubs, find out which games, which teams will be trending. So get your tweets in now at Sky Sports News HQ.
And I'm here in the heart of the newsroom to bring you all the stats and analysis on the opening fixtures in the Premier League.
So here it is. This is what you've been waiting for, the fixtures for the new Premier League season. There we go. Here we go with the Premier League. The standout game on the opening weekend is Manchester United at home to Tottenham. We'll bring you details of that in a moment. Liverpool also returned to Stoke, where they lost 6-1 on the final day of the season. Right, let's just take you through all the games, shall we? Right, and we start with Arsenal. They will be at home to West Ham. Bournemouth's first ever game in the Premier League will be at home to Aston Villa. Now, Chelsea begin the defence of their title. They'll be playing Swansea at Stamford Bridge. Watford's return to the Premier League. That kicks off at Goodison Park. Leicester face Sunderland, who have Dick Advocaat in charge. Right, then it is that game at Old Trafford. Look at that, Manchester United against Tottenham. Steve McLaren's first game in charge of Newcastle will be, we can tell you right now, at home at St James's Park against Southampton. Championship playoff winners, Norwich. They face Crystal Palace at Carrow Road. As we mentioned, Stoke take on Liverpool again. And Manchester City begin the season with a trip to the Hawthorns. Right. That's the Premier League. What about the new Championship season? We've also got all their fixtures. They get underway on the 8th of August. And here are their fixtures for the opening weekend. Here we go, then. Birmingham are at home to Reading. It's Blackburn against Wolves at Ewood Park. Paul Clement's first game in charge of Derby. Well, that, as you can see there, will be at Bolton. Brentford, well, they begin life without Mark Warburton at home to Ipswich. Brighton take on Nottingham Forest. Cardiff are at home to Fulham. Right, QPR, what about them? They will be away from home in their first game following relegation from the Premier League. They will play Charlton, as you can see. Another relegated side, Hull, are next up. They are at home to Huddersfield, one of Steve Bruce's former clubs. Uwe Rosler's first game in charge of Leeds is also against a relegated side. They will play Burnley at Ellen Road. League One playoff winners, that is Preston. Oh, what a start to their championship life. They will play Middlesbrough at Deepdale. Another promoted side, MK Dons. They'll travel to Rotherham. Last season's League One champions, Bristol City, they face Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough. So it brought you the Premier League, the Championship. Right, let's take you to League One, shall we? Opening fixtures for them. Tough opening match for newly promoted Shrewsbury. They welcome relegated Millwall in their first match back in League One. Another relegated side, Wigan, will begin their campaign to get promoted straight back to the Championship away at Coventry. Last season's League Two champions, Burton Albion, they face Scunthorpe, and after being promoted in dramatic fashion, Southend face an opening match at Fleetwood Town. Elsewhere, Chesterfield face Barnsley. Relegated Blackpool are away at Colchester. Crewe take on Port Vale. Another promoted side, Bury, start away to Doncaster. Now, Nigel Adkins' first game as Sheffield United manager is against Gillingham. Rochdale face Peterborough. Swindon take on Bradford. And Walsall are at home against Oldham. Right, Premier League, League One, Championship, all taken care of. Let's take you to League Two right now. Also gets underway August the 8th. And on their return to the Football League, Barnet will travel to Leyton Orient on the opening day. Bristol Rovers were also promoted from the conference. They start at home against Northampton. Teddy Sheringham, his first league game as Stevenage manager, will be against relegated Notts County. Yeovil also drop into League Two and are away to Exeter. AFC Wimbledon face Plymouth. Accrington are at home against Luton. Cambridge United face Newport. Hartlepool take on Morecambe. Mansfield up against Carlisle, while Oxford United face Crawley. Portsmouth start their season against Dagenham and Redbridge, while beaten playoff finalist Wickham, they play York. Right, OK, let's get plenty of reaction for you across all 4 divisions. But let's focus, first of all, shall we, on the Premier League. And look at Bournemouth. There we go. At home to Aston Villa. How about this? We can speak live now to their captain, Tommy Elphick, who's waiting to speak to us. Very good morning to you, Tommy. Right, what do you think of that? A home game, I guess that was key. Aston Villa, what do you make of that start to the season?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's no easy game in the Premier League. But just pleased that we're at home. I think that gives everybody something to look forward to and focus on now. So we're back a week Saturday. I'm sure the lads will be at home watching the fixtures coming out and be buzzing to get back training now.
Now, you came into the Morning View shortly after you were promoted, and you told us the first fixture you would look for would be Anfield. So how excited are you about the prospect of a trip to Anfield for your second league game, Tommy? I can reveal that to you. You're going to be away at Anfield, second game of the season. How about that?
Yeah, it's great. You know, even when you look right down to the bottom, teams like Man United away on the last day, there's so much to look forward to now. And you know, if the lads are going to have been away on their holidays, and if they haven't had a little bit of focus now, the fixtures coming out will surely give everyone something to look forward to and a real focus and drive to want to be involved in the likes of them games. But I'm really happy that we're going to be going to Liverpool early. Hopefully, you know, it's all about getting in the team now and being as fit as possible and as ready as possible for them games, and some huge challenges await. OK, we can now reveal to you, Tommy, your first 6 games for Bournemouth in the Premier League. Right, let's have a look at these. I'm going to read them to you. We know Aston Villa at home, then you've got the trip to Anfield, then come West Ham away for your Bournemouth team, Leicester at home, then Norwich away, obviously a team you know really well, and then September the 19th, that weekend, Sunderland at home. It's easy, this Premier League, isn't it? I'd love to say it is, but it's not. You know, you're talking about Watford and Norwich, who are really hard teams to face against last year, and they seem to be our easiest games this year. You know, the teams that come up, and obviously we'll all be looking to take points off each other. But you know, they was real tough games for us last year, so it just shows the magnitude of what we're going into. And there's some really exciting games and some lovely grounds to go to. So it's a challenge that we've all got to really enjoy and embrace and meet head on. And I think just looking at them really quick, the end of the season is going to be really tough for us. So it's going to be important that we get off to a good start and get as many points as possible as early as possible.
We'll come on to that in a moment. Of course, there's a new derby in town, isn't there? Bournemouth against Southampton. You've got to wait until October the 31st to face them at St Mary's, then back at your place on March the 1st. What will that be like for the fans?
No, it'd be big. I think the last couple of years, you know, our nearest games have been Brighton, so it's been quite a travel for them. So for them to have another local derby to look forward to is going to be great. That is a real one for the fans, and one that will have to be all guns blazing for, because looking on from afar, I've never been involved in a derby for Bournemouth, but they've been quite feisty over the years, and that'll be a real big game for the fans. And again, you know, another sort of landmark that we can look forward to, and another exciting challenge that some of the lads haven't experienced yet.
OK, you alluded to the run-in. Let's have a look at that then. Let's put that on the screen, Bournemouth fans. If you're sitting at home, this is what you've got in your last 6 fixtures, and immediately the eye goes to April the 16th, April the 23rd, back-to-back, Liverpool at home, Chelsea at home, and look at that for a final day away at Old Trafford, Manchester United on May the 15th. Is that the sort of run-in you'd hope to avoid, Tommy, or are you just grateful to be amongst those fixtures?
No, I think we have to get over the fact that we're grateful to be there now. You know, we're there for a reason. We're there on merit, and it's something that, you know, we don't want to be just making up the numbers. We want to be competitive in the league, and we want to stay in the league for as long as possible. I think at every stage in the Premier League, you're going to be coming against a really hard run. I'm looking at ours. Ours has obviously come in the last 6 games, so it's going to be really important that we put as many points on the board as possible. And hopefully, you know, if we can be as nigh on safe coming into them fixtures, everybody would be buzzing, because we could still have a real hand in the title maybe. So that could be a period that we're really looking forward to.
You said when you were here for the morning view at the end of last season that when this day came around, it would be the moment that you finally realised what you'd achieved. OK, you know you're going to be facing now throughout the season. What does it feel like, and how are those preparations going?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think that the mentality of our squad and of our group, you know, you're always looking for the next challenge. So as soon as we had won the league and enjoyed it together, you know, everybody was looking for this day and for the fixtures to come out. And I know the lads would be sitting there, they'd be really excited and just want to be getting back and getting as ready and as fit as possible. We've got some great pre-season fixtures to look forward to. We signed 4 new players who we haven't met yet, 3 new players we haven't met, and Anata's come back. So it's exciting times, and as soon as that last ball is kicked on the final day of the season, everybody's got one eye on the ball about keeping their bodies in good shape and being as ready as possible. So, as I say, it's a week Saturday until we're back in, and can't wait for that now. OK, we can't wait for the start of the season and to see you in the Premier League. Tommy, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and good luck with the campaign. No problems. Cheers. There we go. Tommy Elphick there joining us live from Bournemouth as those fixtures come out. Ray Wilkins joining me live here at Sky Sports News HQ. Kevin Davis will be here a little later as we then turn our attention to the Championship and to his Preston side as well. But let's start with you, Ray. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
This day of the year for football fans, it's like Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, birthdays, everything rolled into one.
Rolled into one.
These fixtures come out and suddenly we can look forward to another campaign. As a player and as a manager, what is this day like?
I think the most important thing as well is when you look at the newly promoted sides, and no matter what division you've come up from, we just spoke to Tommy there, who's obviously ecstatic the fact that he's going to Anfield, so he's a closet Liverpool supporter. It means so much for these guys to see the fixtures come out, and we are actually travelling to that ground, and it's marvellous for them. And as a player, I always used to look at Christmas and the end of the season. The end of the season when I was at Chelsea, hopefully we wouldn't be relegated, because that was a period when, as you know yourself, we were a bit yo-yo-ish, up and down. At Manchester United, when I had the privilege of playing there, it was who was at the end of the season, could we win the Championship? So it was totally different where you were going to be. Christmas was also very important because you really wanted a home fixture to be at home with the family. OK. Does preparations alter when those fixtures come out in any way? Does a manager sit there and go, OK, we're away at so-and-so on the first day, we need to perhaps slightly change things, or is everything set in stone already? No, I think one of the hardest things is for a side like Aston Villa, for example, that will go to Bournemouth, newly promoted side, packed stadium, enthusiasm through the roof, and you've got to go there and front up one of the best footballing sides probably in the country last year, let alone the Championship. So that will be an interesting fixture. And it's always difficult to go to a newly promoted side very early on, because that enthusiasm is there from day dot, and it has been for the last 6 weeks. So that's a tough fixture. But no, I think every fixture, and Tommy was quite right, every fixture you play in the Barclays Premier League is really, really tough. OK, tough for Tottenham at the start of this campaign. Manchester United then. For them, what do you make of that one? Well, it's a great fixture, and I think both clubs will be doing a lot of business in the coming months. So it's always a good fixture, United, Tottenham. If you're going to go to Old Trafford, you're just as well to go first game of the season and see how you go. You know, it's traditionally lots of goals. And there's... It was this season, last fixture, Rooney was playing more forward, and they started to click in this game, didn't they? This was one of those turning point games. Most certainly, Rob, yeah, and they looked a very impressive side from then on in. They looked good. But it'd be interesting to see how they go this year. You know, they are going to bring a number of players in. They had an indifferent season last year, it has to be said, albeit they finished in the top 4. But they need to improve, they need to be winning, and that's always been Manchester United.
As for Liverpool, they go to Stoke, and memories of the final day of last season. Is that a good thing, to exercise that ghost as soon as you can?
Well, I think Stoke City away is one of the hardest games you can actually get in the fixture list, because you know what's coming at you. And it's always been the same, Rob. They play slightly more football under Mark Hughes than under Tony Pulis, but both systems are extremely effective. So it's going to be tough for anybody that goes to Stoke, and Liverpool going there once again. Stoke will want to repeat that wonderful result they had. 1-0 will suit them perfect, not 6.
Yeah. OK, so that's that game, Stoke against Liverpool. As for the defending champions, which they will be when the season kicks off, Chelsea, they take on Swansea. A fixture last season, and Chelsea won. Diego Costa scored a hat-trick. And how important is it for any team, but in particular the champions, to lay down a marker on the opening day of the season?
Yeah, I think a home game is what you're looking for, and I think it is important for them. With Manchester City, the second game away from home, Chelsea will be looking for 3 points against Swansea. They will be playing against an extremely good footballing side, it has to be said. But that, on the other hand, might play into their hands, because Swansea will come and they'll want to play football against Chelsea. They won't be parking buses, one would have thought. They'll come out and try and win the match, as we know they can, because they play such good football and they retain the ball so well. So Chelsea have got a tough fixture, but one they did the double on Swansea last year and had a great win, 5-1 I think it was, at Swansea last year. So Chelsea would be very confident they can repeat that.
OK. There's 2,036 fixtures to digest have just come out. The man we've set with the task of sifting through them and finding the top stats and facts, Andy Burton.
Doing it already. Liverpool fans might have had a shiver down their spine when they saw their opening day fixture. They travelled to Stoke City on the final day of last season. Of course, they lost 6-1 at the Britannia Stadium. That was the club's biggest defeat in 52 years. One reason for optimism, though, for you Liverpool fans, you did win at home to Stoke on the opening day of the 2013-14 season and went on to finish runners-up in that campaign. Now, in terms of Manchester City, they begin their season at West Bromwich Albion, and I can tell you that they have got a decent record against Manchester City. They are unbeaten in their last 6 opening weekends against them, and against West Brom they have won the last 7 Premier League meetings, scoring 19 goals. Now, Manchester United faced Tottenham at Old Trafford on the opening day. Last season, United beat Spurs 3-0 at home. Tottenham's first defeat in 6 games between the sides. United have won 18 Premier League home games against Tottenham. They haven't won more against anybody else. Now, defending champions Chelsea face Swansea. Jose Mourinho's club has the best opening weekend record in Premier League history, with 15 wins from their 23 games, only 3 defeats there as well. They have the most points, that's 50 from a possible 69, and their best points per game ratio, 2.17 of any Premier League club in opening day matches. Now, what about Arsenal? They traditionally start the season well on the opening day. Rob, they have won 9 of their last 14 games.
Let's get reacted to it all on social media right now. What is trending in June? Boxing Day. Why? Because everybody's wondering where they're going to have to travel to on Boxing Day, or whether they're staying at home to watch their club play in #Fixture Release Day, which of course is trending right now, as is West Brom and Stoke as well. We'll update you on all that is trending throughout the day, but let's look at the trendy people who've been tweeting on Twitter right now. We can start with our very own Jamie Carragher, and he's had his say, saying, I don't think Sky had a say in the fixtures, but Gary Neville must have been involved in picking Liverpool's first 7 away games. So there we have it, having a bit of a dig there and a bit of fun at his Sky colleague. We know that Liverpool have a really tough challenge against Manchester United. They travel away to Goodison, and as well they take on Chelsea away. So there you have it. We'll take you through all the fixtures, of course, but let's just focus on who has been tweeting on what. We have Charlie Adam here, and he says, what a game to start the season. So Stoke, of course, face Liverpool on that opening game of the season. And Ashley Young, Manchester United player here, saying, imagine not getting excited when the fixtures get released. I'm sure he is glued to Sky Sports News right now, wherever he is, perhaps on holiday, making sure he's watching. And you can, of course, keep up to date at Sky Sports News HQ on Twitter as well, if you aren't able to get to your screen. So we have Stephen Harper, who was released by Newcastle United, but also keeping an eye on his former club's fixtures, saying not an easy August for Newcastle. Hopefully they'll make some good additions and start well under the new head coach.
OK, let's bring you some breaking news, and we're hearing from Sky sources that Manchester City have made a second bid for Raheem Sterling. You remember the first one was rejected out of hand. That was 25 million plus 5 million in add-ons, taking up to 30 million. But we are hearing, Sky sources are telling us, Manchester City made a second bid for Raheem Sterling. £40 million, we are hearing, in that region. So £40 million second bid for Raheem Sterling from Manchester City. We'll get Ray Wilkins' reaction to that in a moment. Plus, we'll bring you more as champions. Chelsea get their title defence underway at home to Swansea. We'll look at their opening fixtures and that of the top 4 contenders. That's next. Right, let's bring you more on that breaking news. And Sky sources are telling us that in the past couple of moments, Manchester City have made a second bid for Raheem Sterling. We understand, we're hearing, that is in the region of £40 million. The initial bid of 25 plus add-ons rejected by Liverpool. This, the second bid, £40 million. That's what Sky sources are telling us this Wednesday morning. Kevin, welcome.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Right, OK, question is, Raheem Sterling, will he start his season away at Stoke City or away at West Brom? Or elsewhere?
I'm not too sure about this one. I think it might drag on a little bit with this saga. It's been going on for a long time. Will Brendan Rodgers dig his heels in and try and keep him like he did with Suarez? But I think eventually, if there seems a bit of unrest there, he will be leaving, whether it's this season or in a season or 2 seasons' time. But I'm not too sure. I can see him staying at Liverpool for the time being anyway.
It shows City's intent, doesn't it?
Almost
25 plus 5 the add-on first time around. They've upped it by 10. It's all to do with player quotas as well, homegrown players in their squad for the Champions League. Is there an outsider who might come in? Only City have shown their hand so far. Can you see someone else?
They've shown it now at 40 million now, Rob. For other people to come in now would be extremely difficult. Even the big boys in Spain, I think that would be a little bit too much for them at 40 million, considering his age as well, Raheem. He's had an indifferent back end of the season, it has to be said, but there's been a lot of pressure on the young guy as well. I personally would like to see him at Liverpool because I think he'll play. I think if he goes to City, then there's every chance if he went to West Brom with City.
Can he, though, stay there?
Well, I think it's
on.
difficult for him to stay there, but there's always a but. He has to get out on the football field and show his worth to Liverpool supporters. OK, he's upset them immensely, but you can always turn that round by performing on the pitch.
Right. Fixtures for the 2015-16 Premier League season have been announced. The big game of the opening day, Manchester United against Tottenham at Old Trafford. Arsenal, they start against West Ham. Bournemouth's first ever top flight campaign will start at home to Aston Villa. Well, Chelsea, they begin the defence of their title against Swansea. Watford start away at Everton, while Leicester, they head to the northeast to take on Sunderland. And as we said, it is Manchester United against Tottenham. Steve McLaren's first game as Newcastle boss is against Southampton. Norwich, they face Crystal Palace, and Stoke will hope for a repeat of their 6-1 win over Liverpool when they play again at the Britannia Stadium. And Manchester City start against West Brom. Right, let's now take a closer look at the champions start. Right, the new season, they take on Gary Monk's side, Swansea, August the 8th, the date for your diary, of course. Manchester City, who finished 8 points behind them, follow. Jose Mourinho then takes his team to West Brom. And remember, of course, they lost 3-0 to them last season at the Hawthorns. Then it's Crystal Palace, who are they're at home to them before a game against Everton. That's on the 12th of September. And after that, they face Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Could Petr Cech be lining up against Chelsea there? And what about, well, Manchester City? They kick off off their new season. That is against West Brom. It's an away game. Before that, home games against champions Chelsea there. Manuel Pellegrini, well, his side then face Everton after that. Then it's a Premier League new boys Watford. After an international break, City then travel to London to face Crystal Palace, and they face Slaven Bilic's West Ham side, which is after that. And Arsenal, well, they take on Bilic's West Ham in their first game of the season. That one is at the Emirates Stadium. It's another London derby, this time against Palace. And what about this? Arsenal against Liverpool takes place early on in the season, the 22nd of August. Then it's a trip to Steve McLaren's Newcastle there as well, and they face Stoke at home. They won that one, of course, 3-0 last season, and another huge tie after that. Arsene Wenger comes up against Jose Mourinho at Stamford Bridge. Now, Louis van Gaal and his Manchester United side. Right, they kick off their season. Let's have a look who it is against. I'm sure you've probably seen. They take on Tottenham. Then they have an away trip to Aston Villa. Next, they face Steve McLaren's Newcastle United. Well, they then travel to Swansea. Van Gaal's side, of course, were beaten there last season. Then Liverpool, well, they face United at Old Trafford, and a mouth-watering prospect comes so early in the season as well. Then Van Gaal comes up against Koeman at St Mary's as United face Southampton.
Well, it looks good for Chelsea on the opening day against Swansea City. If last season is anything to go by, Chelsea won both games against Swansea, scoring 9 goals in the process. Gary Monk will want to change that this year, of course. Swansea coming off the back of their highest ever league finish last season. Chelsea's second game is at Manchester City. No team has beaten Manchester City more often in the Premier League than Chelsea, with 22 wins. You've just seen Manchester United's opening 6 fixtures as well. They'll want a better start than they had last season when they took just 5 points from their opening 5 games. That run left them 8 points behind the leaders Chelsea at that stage. And Arsene Wenger always talks, doesn't he, about how difficult it is for London clubs to win the title because of the number of London derbies they play. He says they bring an extra intensity. Arsenal play West Ham, Crystal Palace and Chelsea in their first 6 games. They won 6 of their 10 London derbies last season. That was the second best record in the London head-to-head stats in the Premier League, behind Chelsea.
Oh, Andy, thank you very much for digesting all those fixtures. The 19th of September, that weekend then, it is Chelsea against Arsenal. Gentlemen, let's have a look at what Hayley was talking about as we begin to digest the fixtures then for the new season. Let's start, Ray, with you and Chelsea. And my eye is drawn not only to Manchester City as the second game away from home, but that game against Arsenal as well, as Andy was referring to, on the 19th of September. And we spoke about Raheem Sterling. Will Petr Cech be in goal at Stamford Bridge, albeit for Arsenal on that day, do you feel?
It's a tough call, isn't it? There's talk that Jose will allow him to go to Arsenal, but Jose will obviously want something back from Arsenal also. Now, whether it's Theo Walcott or Oxlade-Chamberlain, no one knows. But the fixture that stands out, which is an extremely tough one, apart from the City one away, is Everton. You know, Chelsea, historically, when they've gone to Everton, have found it really difficult, and it's been an extremely tough game for them. But I think apart from that, Arsenal at home, they've done quite well against them in previous years. Crystal Palace, they've done the same. West Brom away. So it's not a bad start for Chelsea. Obviously, the second game's a really important one, coming so early.
Yeah, talking of games coming early, as we move on to Manchester City and their first 6 fixtures, and that game that Ray was alluding to, Kevin, is in some ways that too early in the season? Can you set down a marker? Are you in your stride by the time you get to the second game of the campaign, or will it just be feeling each other out there?
No, I think it's all about the pre-season, get the pre-season right and spot on. And I think the first game, you've got to concentrate on that one. I don't think you can look too far ahead. So West Brom away gives them that opportunity to go and get the 3 points. It's not going to be easy. There's no easy games, we know that. But if they can get 3 points and take the confidence into that Chelsea game and then put in a good performance against Chelsea, you never know. Suddenly it could be 6 points and put down the statement to the rest of the league that they mean business this year again. But I think Pellegrini overall will be happy with those fixtures. It gives him an opportunity to get off to a good start. Saying that, it's not going to be that simple, but I think it's great for people to watch those kind of games early on. It gives us a real interest and see kind of where both teams are this early on in the season and see where they're at.
We heard Jamie Carragher alluding to Liverpool's run of away fixtures, and they have to go to the Emirates in the third game of the season to play Arsenal. That a huge game as well, isn't it? Not only for Arsene Wenger, but for Brendan Rodgers too.
It always is. You've got two footballing thoroughbreds, haven't you, in Liverpool and Arsenal. Arsenal probably play the best football in the Premier League, and they're an absolutely outstanding side. So it'll be tough for Liverpool to go there. What we must remember as well, Rob, is that the majority of these squads will change between here and now. So the teams that played against each other last year, I think you'll probably see 2 or 3 additives to those squads.
Finally, Manchester United, we haven't touched on them yet in this little chat. Liverpool as well for them at Old Trafford in their first 6, as well as that game against Tottenham in the opening one. Your eye gets drawn to that. Always a huge fixture, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be a great game of football, that one. I think I think the opening game and the fixtures in general for Manchester United will give them the opportunity to have a good start. I think there's 3 home games there. You think they'll be capable of winning. They had a good home record last week. So, again, if they can get up to a good start, I think with the fixtures after that, it gives them an opportunity to get up to a better start than last year. Was it 5 points after 5 games, which wasn't great. And I think it's so important for teams to get off to a good start and build that confidence, and of course put pressure on Chelsea from the start as well, who led from start to finish last season. So it's crucial, and I think looking at the fixtures for all the teams, we're pretty happy with them overall. I think the first 6 games.
OK, we are digesting the fixtures as they are announced. Bournemouth in the Premier League for the first time in their history. Next we'll look at the fixtures facing the Championship winners and the rest of the promoted sides. Breaking news this hour, Sky sources understand that Manchester City have made a second bid for Raheem Sterling in the region of £40 million. Now, the fixtures for the 2015-2016 Premier League season have also been announced. The big game of the opening day, Manchester United against Tottenham at Old Trafford. Arsenal start against West Ham. Bournemouth's first ever top-flight campaign, that will start at home to Aston Villa. Chelsea begin the defence of their title against Swansea. Watford start away at Everton while Leicester face Sunderland. As we said, Manchester United against Tottenham. Steve McLaren's first game as Newcastle boss, that's against Southampton. Norwich face Crystal Palace. Stoke will hope for a repeat of their 6-1 win over Liverpool when they play again at the Britannia Stadium. And Manchester City start their season against West Brom. Let's take a little more in-depth look at those teams promoted then. Bournemouth will be playing in the Premier League for the first time in their 116-year history and get it all underway at home to Aston Villa on August the 8th. That's followed by a trip to Anfield the following weekend before they face West Ham. Their second home game, well, that's against Leicester on August the 29th before facing fellow promoted side Norwich at Carrow Road on September the 12th. They then have Sunderland on September the 19th. What about Watford? Back in the Premier League after a 9-year absence and with new manager Quique Flores at the helm. His first game, well, as you can see, will be away at Everton. Coincidentally, the same team they faced last time Watford were in the Premier League. That was in 2006-07. They lost 2-1 on that occasion. That's before back-to-back home games against West Brom and Southampton. Then a huge game away at Manchester City. That's August the 29th. It's followed by games against Swansea and Newcastle. And what about the playoff winners then? Norwich. They start their season at home to Crystal Palace before a trip to Sunderland and games against Stoke, Southampton. We mentioned that Bournemouth game as well before a trip to Anfield on September the 19th.
Well, we heard Tommy Elphick of Bournemouth earlier this hour talking about how excited he was to play Liverpool in their second game of the season. It's Bournemouth's first league meeting with Liverpool and first trip to Anfield since 1968. They lost 4-1 that day. They did play them in the Capital One Cup quarter-final last season. Liverpool won 3-1. They played the season before that as well in the FA Cup fourth round and lost 2-0. Who knows, though, Tommy? Perhaps, mate, this could be the year. Quick line on Norwich. They don't traditionally start well on the opening day. They haven't won an opening day game in the last 12 seasons. Watford do start well, though. Since they were last in the Premier League, they're unbeaten in their last 8 opening day games. They face Everton this year, and they were the last team to beat them on an opening day.
Well, there's an omen for you. Thank you very much, Andy. More from Andy as we continue to go through all those fixtures that come out. Not just the Premier League, by the way. We will be turning our attention to the Championship, League One and League Two. But let's start with those promoted sides. We've seen their opening 6 fixtures. Easy question, most probably a difficult answer. Kevin, who's the happiest? We had that stat about Watford there. Well, maybe looking at this and thinking, well, that's a breeze.
I don't think it matters who Norwich play. They don't seem to win anyway, do they? But I think for Bournemouth, I think it's a good first home time for them. And if you can get that win against Villa at home, again, it's all... I think it's... I keep saying probably during the course of this programme, getting that first win under your belt, getting the confidence up, the belief that you can compete at this level, which is a big step up for them and first time in the top flight. But if you get that win and then to go to Liverpool, it's a free game. It's a free game. You always kind of see the top 6 as... treat them as bonus games, bonus points. Anything you get to bonus, it's those games against teams in and around you what really count. But if you can get 3 points or a draw against Villa and take it to Liverpool, enjoy it.
OK, so let's pick up on that. What is more important, in horse racing parlance, course and distance, in the fact that Norwich and Watford have been there, or is it the surprise element of Bournemouth? What will hold more?
I think it's a bit of both, Rob, and I think Kevin's spot on. You do need to get your first victory under your belt. Your home form, obviously, is going to be vitally important. Bournemouth, what do they hold? About 14,000, 15,000 maximum. So it's going to be a tight little arena. The pitch will be impeccable. So that gives the visiting side also a slight edge in that they will play on a bowling green. So there's no surprises as to what the surface will be like. But the step up from Championship to Premier League is massive. So it's very, very important that defensively you're solid as a rock as well. So when they're buying in the close season, it's very important that they not only look at, yes, you have to score, but you have to keep a clean sheet as much as you possibly can as well. Because we will be punished in the Premier League like no one's business if you make a mistake. In the Championship, OK, you might get away with it. But in the Premier League, if you make a mistake, you'll find yourself a goal behind. And I think that's the major difference with these sides coming up. But no doubt they're really looking forward to it, all of them.
All 3 of them face big away games early on. We've seen Bournemouth and Norwich, they go to Liverpool. Watford play Manchester City, right? Is that a good thing to get that out the way early on, or is a losing habit a difficult one to get out of?
It can be either. It can be either. I think the first game's the important one. You want to get something on the board, whether it's a point or a victory or a good performance, even a good performance and losing. You want to get something positive from that first game. And then, like I said, you have to... I remember with Sam Allardyce at Bolton, we treated those top 6 games as bonus games. We didn't expect to get anything. We weren't competing against those teams, so they were kind of like a free game. And you can just go and enjoy the occasion. It's the other games in and around teams, in and around you, the bottom half of the team, which really count. So those kind of fixtures, they'll be relishing it, believe me. Coming so early in the season, they've worked hard. All of last season, the pre-season now, they can start to focus on those first games, those second games, and it'll give them a lot of motivation. They can go there playing with no fear, and that sometimes can be dangerous.
I think also, Rob, it is the realism you have to go into it as well. You know, really, with the massive influx of finance coming next year, 4th from bottom really is not a bad place to be for any of these newly promoted sides, because it's going to be extremely difficult anyway to play in the Premier League. But 4th from bottom, sitting here now, I'm sure they're probably... all 3 of those would settle for that now, as would a majority of sides in the Barclays Premier League.
One of those that won't is Manchester City. They're looking for their 3rd league title in 5 years and get the campaign underway against West Bromwich Albion. We'll get reaction to that one next. Breaking news this hour, Sky sources understand that Manchester City have made a 2nd bid for Raheem Sterling in the region of £40 million. So will Sterling be playing for City when they begin the new season away at West Brom? For more reaction to the fixtures for that new season, we can join James Cooper, who's at the Etihad Stadium.
Well, good morning and welcome back to one of the most high-profile building sites in all of Manchester. This is the Etihad Stadium. It's going to be playing host, the new Etihad Stadium, that is, to a blockbuster first game of the season, certainly on home soil for Manchester City, that against Chelsea. They're away on the first day against West Bromwich Albion. Alongside me, Director of Sales and Operations here at Manchester City, Danny Wilson. And Danny, you're away on the first day. It does give the club a chance to get all this spick and span for what is a blockbuster second game of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. The work's been ongoing for a long period of time, and we appreciate the fans' cooperation last season as the building process was being undertaken. We're looking forward to it. The stadium's going to be ready, and as you say, it's a great game to start to kick off an expanded Etihad Stadium.
I think what's astonishing is you can see the building work. a lot of the building work and the pre-work was going on even while last season was happening.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we were fortunate in terms of the way the stadium's been expanded not to lose many seats last season. The impact wasn't too significant on our supporters, and we're delighted now to be opening with a capacity next season of 55,000.
Yeah, the most obvious bit is that stand behind us, the South Stand, an extra 5,000 seats going in there. How are they selling and what's the interest been like?
Yeah, the sales are really good. We had a waiting list of around about 9,000 that we've built up over the last 12 to 18 months. Sales are still going really well. Sales of season tickets, sales of our premium seats that we launched this year as well, and hospitality is going incredibly well as well.
And incorporated within those new seats, a new singing area of the South Stand of the Etihad Stadium, but will also incorporate a new area for away fans, but largely keep them where they were.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've made a decision. We undertook consultation with our supporters. We've kind of squeezed the away fans across 3 levels in the South Stand now to open up more blocks at level 1 and level 2 of the South Stand for our supporters. Alongside that, we've increased the size of the singing section, and working with our supporters club and with the 1894 group, a proactive fan group, we've given them a block of seats in the South Stand now to call their own, and which will start to work with them on a lot of activity next season and beyond.
What's not so obvious is the extra 1,000 seats. They're going to go all the way around the stadium. Explain how they work.
Yeah, so we've introduced 3 more rows of seats at pitch level in the North and South stands and the East stands as well. And as you can probably see behind us, we've got work being undertaken now in the main stand, in the Colin Bell stand.
That incentive, though, for that first home game of the season against Chelsea couldn't be any bigger. You couldn't ask for a bigger game, could you?
No, absolutely. And I think our record against Chelsea in recent seasons, as our fans will well know, is pretty positive. I think we've won 5 of the last 7 games, drawing 1 of those games. But we're really looking forward to it. It's a great game. If you look at last season, the top 2 teams in the league coming together so early in the season, and it's great to be hosting it at the Etihad Stadium.
You've been at Manchester City for an awful long time. We stood here, I think, for the Commonwealth Games back in 2002. This has been completely transformed in the matter of 13 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And where we're standing now was a temporary stand. It was scaffolding for the Commonwealth Games back in 2002. So I think all the steps and development and evolution of the football club over that period of time has been phenomenal. I think the new training facility, City Football Academy, that opened in December, is testament to the progress we're making as an organisation and our desire and ambition to kind of continue to be successful for a long, long time.
There'll be 55,000 people squeezed in for the Chelsea game, but it could be even bigger in seasons to come. There are plans there to make the Etihad even up to 61,000, aren't there?
Yeah, over time we've got planning consent to expand the North Stand. We can increase that, but we'll do that over the right period of time as well. We want to make sure that the timing's right. We'll continue to build our kind of attendances over the period of time over the coming years to make sure that we do it at the right time and continue to increase the stadium.
Football fans tend to be superstitious. The last time you won the 2 Premier League titles, you've been at home on the opening day, you've been home on the final day of the season. It changes. It's away on the final day, away on the opening day.
Yeah.
You've got to do it differently if you're trying to get your title back, haven't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can look at that. You can look at similarities season on season. You can look at the differences, and you can look at games that you've not won for a number of years, beating your bogey teams home or away. And I think there's been numerous examples over the last 3 or 4 years of how we've kind of toed and froed between kind of either or. And I think we know we've got a strong squad, we've got a strong team who've got the ambition to win games and win trophies, and I think we'll be doing that regardless.
Danny, thank you ever so much. I've got to say, it is an astonishing building feat going on here at the Etihad Stadium, but whether it's on the pitch, off the pitch or in the stands, Manchester City are confident they're going to be bigger and better next season.
Thank you very much, James. And you can see from the backdrop there why they're away from home. They requested that as their first fixture away from home. They will be away at West Bromwich Albion. Then, as James was saying there in that interview, Chelsea at home on August the 15th. By the way, if you go to skysports.com, you can find your team and all their fixtures for the season. As I scan down Manchester City, my eyes go to the Christmas and the New Year period. Sunderland at home, Leicester away, Watford away. Kevin, that's kind of important over those games packed into the space of a sort of week or so, that you get a nice little run like that, don't you?
I think so. We always look at the Christmas period as being crucial. You've got to be within. I still think Chelsea are going to be the ones to catch. If they can be in and around Chelsea a few points and come into that Christmas period, if you can go and get maximum points there and put the pressure right back on them, and then you're into the new year, aren't you? And then it's right, you knuckle down. You've got the breaks and things that you use wisely. But I think City need to get off to a good start. I think they really do. And I think there's some tricky ties there. But I think they need to get off to a good start this season.
If you look at their running as well, which is also key, in their last 5, they've got to go to Stamford Bridge and they have Arsenal at home as well. So a couple of tasty games for them there in the run-in.
Absolutely. And it's always tough over the Christmas period when the games come so thick and fast. because that's where you need your squad. And I think Manchester City last year let themselves down, guys, with the fact that they conceded too many goals. You know, they, in offensive areas, look absolutely magnificent. A lot of creativity, goal scorers left, right and centre. But I think they will admit themselves, I think Kevin was telling me they kept 14 clean sheets. Well, that isn't quite good enough because Chelsea kept 17 and went on to win the title. So therefore, it's imperative that their squad changes slightly, but it changes more from a defensive aspect, as far as I'm concerned, than it does from a forward aspect.
What about the confidence, the show of support, call it what you will, of Manuel Pellegrini? Not only is he still there, but it looks like they're backing him. Raheem Sterling, the news coming through to us of an up to £40 million bid now. How good is that for football that Manuel Pellegrini is still there and looks like he'll be there for the start of the season?
I think it's great to hear. It's a surprise in this day and age that he's still in a job. I mean, football is just so ruthless, and I think people like myself thinking about managing, sometimes the sackings that come with the game, they come too quickly. I think managers need to be given time. Yeah, didn't have a great season last season in terms of challenging for the title and in Europe again, but looks like he's going to be given funds to improve. And he seems like a really nice bloke as well, which I think it's good for the game. And
I think Kevin's right. I think he's spot on in everything he said, and he does seem a really nice guy. And it is nice that he's been given an opportunity, and they're backing him, because if they put in 40 million for Raheem, then they're certainly backing him within the market. But I would expect also 3 or 4 to disappear as well. And I think City will probably be one of those teams that changes the most throughout the Premier, or the squad changes the most throughout the Premier League.
Having heard that, a simple yes or no, will City win the title?
No.
Not for me, no. I can't see past Chelsea again.
No, me neither, Kevin. I agree. Rob sits there with a big grin on his face now.
I remain neutral, impartial in everything that I do.